Let's jump right into who writes the policies, and hopefully not Shakespeare.
No, Mark does. With
Well, I was going to say I know it's not Barry Manilow because he writes the songs that the whole world sings. But yeah, we get this question a lot, right? Who's going to write the policies? And in some organizations, it can be a little bit of a hot potato. Um, the security team wants to pass it off to the business owner, or a developer wants to pass it off to the business owner. And I guess the short answer is, who writes the policies? Well, anybody and everybody. Each organization is a little bit different. Um, One good thing, our solution isn't going to force you into one way. If you have business people who want to write policies, they can. We have tools for that. We have tools that are geared more towards a developer or someone like myself doing policy as code. And we've also sprinkled in a little bit of AI there to help the business people write policies. So in some cases, it is a group effort. In other cases, it's, hey, there's a single team that's responsible for it, or there's single teams of, say, more technically minded groups within each business owner group. And then all those policies get aggregated together and deployed to our system.
And I see we've got a great comment here on LinkedIn coming in. Surprised there is no security persona here. There can be. There totally can be. I would put them more in the business owner. There's different tiers, if you will, of business here. On this side, we're kind of focusing on the technical skill set, but then the other aspect you want to consider is how close you are to what it is you want to protect. So if you're really close to the app, generally speaking, it would be the product owner, the app owner, the developer of the app. But then moving up, you're going to have the compliance team and the audit teams that care about internal legislation, things that you might have put in place. Say if you're a car manufacturer X, you don't want to work with car manufacturer Y, so you may have some compliance policies around that. But then moving up, you might have the legal team or the external compliance team, and they worry about things like GDPR legislation or any kind of government legislation, and they want to make sure that you put those in place. And then, of course, ultimately, you have the IT security team that might want to say things like, oh, in order to get access to any kind of data from within the corporate network, basic authentication is enough. But if you're accessing from home or a VPN or outside of the home country of the company, then you want to do MFA, or you want to do passkey authentication, something like that, right? So yeah, the security team can absolutely be part of the requirements. They would be, what I just said, part of the requirements. They might not be the ones writing the actual policy. That might be delegated to the developer and the business owner. That also goes back to something Mark said. We can have two separate, at a very high level, two separate teams that write policies. The local team, let's call it. So like I said, the app owner or the developer of the app, and then global or cross-enterprise teams. Like I said, the compliance team, the security team, these are cross-enterprise teams. They're responsible for global requirements, not the specific requirements, right? So yes, absolutely. And one of the cool things of doing externalized authorization and doing it based on policies is you can have both happen at the same time, right? You can have a global policy that applies like a blanket across all of the apps, combined with a local policy that talks about that particular app only.
Right. I mean, we also see sometimes a security team, say, writes these global standard policies, or essentially they create a library of
Yep.
policy trees or even rules, and then they provide those to each individual business group and say, hey, here's a library of things that we wrote that you need to be using within your policies. Or like David said, that team can just overlay them on top of theirs and ensure those are being applied. So both models apply.
That was a really good question. Thanks for keeping us complete, because it is kind of missing on the slide.
I did say it, so at least I should get credit for
Mark, you always catch my bloopers and my mistakes and my oversights. Thanks for being there.
It's a full-time job.
Donuts coming up. Oh yes, no doubt. And how much time do I need for those to write policies? Is it a time sink? Is it going to take me more time than what I would have done homegrown before?
Well, that's a different question than the one we have here. The one that we get more often is how much time do I spend maintaining them, which is after I've written my first batch. But to your point, when you first get started from scratch, just like any project, whether it's a project around the house or at work, um, sometimes you're a little bit slow getting started because you're not familiar with the tool set, or you have to do some prep work. But once you start getting a feel for things and start writing a couple of policies, it's kind of like a snowball going downhill. Things go quicker and quicker. Um, but to the point of the question we get more often is, once they have one of these systems in place, how much time do I spend maintaining them? And most of the time, and someone's going to say, hey, this isn't the case for me, but most of the time, you spend very little time at all maintaining the policies. And that's because the policies are usually based on, say, some sort of compliance from the government or your own internal authorization requirements, essentially the rules of the land. And the rules don't change very often. You got to remember, we're not talking about, hey, I need to change a policy because someone's roles change, or someone got a promotion, right? Their titles change, or they've moved, they transferred to a different office. Those are values of user attributes, and those do not change the policy, because the policy, again, is checking relationships most of the time. Hey, are you the owner of the document? Are you on the same team? So just because your team changed doesn't mean the policy needs to change. So the policies typically stay pretty static.
I like to compare it to the traffic laws of wherever you drive, say a state or a province or a country. The driving laws generally do not change. The attributes of the driver and the attributes of the car and the location of the car, those change all the time, right? Yeah, your age changes, your ability to drive changes, the fines and the tickets you receive, of course, they might change. I mean, if you're a great driver like me and forget tickets, I feel like I've just jinxed myself for the day now. But yes, the authorization is dynamic. The attributes change all the time. The result of evaluating a policy change, but the policies themselves don't change too much.